Okay, so Meg, we're talking about baking, and in the last interview, you mentioned cake pops and some other stuff. Now, you also mentioned truffles. What is a truffle?
A truffle is it's a little chocolate candy, or it can be not so tiny, but it's not huge. It's like bite-sized chocolate candy with something on the inside that's called ganache, which is can be a chocolate or a different flavor, kind of creamy or a little more firm, and then coated in chocolate. So it's a chocolate candy, basically.
Okay. Now, I sometimes hear the word truffle is like something that pigs find under trees. Is it the same word?
No. Well, same word, but those are a type of mushroom, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's truffles mushroom, and then there's truffles chocolate candy. So I guess be careful which one you're ordering if you're at the store.
Right, and they have nothing to do with each other.
No, I mean, maybe someone has made a mushroom chocolate truffle before,
right.
I'm not sure, but not me.
Okay, so are truffles easy to make?
They're time consuming. So I don't think they're difficult to make, but you have to have the time to put in because you need to make the inside chocolate part first and mix together the ingredients and then I always did it by hand, form all the little balls so that you can dip them in chocolate. And so one batch I could usually get maybe 60 truffles, so probably I had to spend a few hours working on a batch of truffles.
Wow, can you go through the process? Like, how do you make them from start to finish?
So probably my favorite ones are like an espresso chocolate kind where I need some chopped up chocolate, more like baking chocolate or really dark chocolate, or if you want milk chocolate, you can use it. And then mix that with some heavy cream and butter on the stove, and if there's any flavor you're going to add. And so if it's like a coffee flavor, you can add some coffee grinds and later strain them out, so it has that flavor. And then,
that's the inner part that you're making. That's like, what's that called again?
Ganache.
Ganache. Okay.
And so then you've made that, and so it's still pretty thin, more liquidy, and so you need to put it in the fridge to let it firm up. That recipe can take a few hours before it's ready. And then once it's ready, I just use like a small spoon to scoop a little out and then use my hands to roll it into like a ball shape. And then let that sit. And I might have to put it back in the fridge because your hands kind of warm the chocolate back up. And then once it's out, you can use a special dipping fork or just a regular small fork and have some melted coating chocolate that you can get at craft stores, or there's fancy kinds or cheap kinds or whatever. And then you need to dip each ball individually and put it down on wax paper, like a special paper that won't stick to. And then you let them, if you're going to add anything on top, like sprinkles or anything, you can do that. And then that's it, you're done.
Wow, and then you just put them in the fridge. You chill them, right?
You don't have to. They're better actually if you keep them out of the fridge, because if you put them in the fridge, then you maybe have to handle issues with it going from cold to warm. And chocolate, you might not know, chocolate, if it gets too cold sometimes, or like frozen, little white spots can come to the surface, and so it kind of ruins the prettiness of the chocolate. So,
okay.
Yeah, so you can just leave them out.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Well, I might give it a try, but it still sounds pretty
well,
hard.
I'll help you.
Hello, Marianne. I thought we would talk about love and relationships today.
Okay.
If you don't mind. And we would ask you about marriage in your country of France. And is it changing? Like, are fewer people getting married? Are they getting married younger or later? Like, how is marriage changing in France?
Well, marriage is it's kind of like it's a traditional idea. Actually, it's very conservative idea, or it became like a conservative concept. So actually, nowadays, I would say that French people do not really care about getting married. They care more about like having a stable relationship, or having a real love relationship. Because I would say, like, for example, for my grandfather and grandmother's generation, marriage was very it was very important for the stability of the family, and for the stability of even for yourself. Like, even for when you were a woman at this time, you had to rely on a husband to live, because women were not independent, they couldn't work, or they had difficult access to work. So marriage was very important to have this possible life, and having someone who can support you. But nowadays, because things are changing between men and women, they tend to be equal, so they tend to have the same rights. So marriage became less important to get some stability in your life. But the most important nowadays is to find someone that you can really rely on and someone that you really love, to have a family. So people get married like when they are older, so they really enjoy like being young and enjoy like having different partners, for example, and then decide who is the best partner. And then when they are older, when they are sure, they can get married and have a family. But it's not the first priority. People are more independent, women and men nowadays in France. So marriage is like kind of just like people put the marriage back. It's not the first priority. The main priority is really about love, about finding happiness in your life, if you find someone you love.
Okay, well, I think in the States it's very similar. But how do people feel about children? And also, how do they feel about, let's say, being with someone for their entire life? Like you find your soulmate and then that's it.
Well, it's a very romantic idea. So I think it doesn't have to do with marriage. Like it depends on your personality, I would say, because if you believe in this idea of the perfect soulmate and someone you can live with forever, it's more like romantic. So I would say nowadays, like still French people believe in never-lasting or never-ending love. But it's not necessarily through marriage that you accomplish this.
Oh, okay. And what about children?
What's your question about children? Sorry.
So you were saying that marriage isn't as important. Are they willing to have children out of wedlock? Or like, do people feel like you have to be married to have children, or do they just?
No. You have to love each other. You really have to love each other to have children. Like it doesn't matter so much if you are married or not. It's just a question of paper. Usually, for example, if the child should have the name of the father or the mother when you are not married, it could be this kind of issue. But like people can have children and then get married. Like for example, my friends. I have many of friends around me who are just getting married now, but they have already children, like 2 or 3 children. So it's not, the question of having children or getting married before. The order does not really matter nowadays. You really you have to marry the other if the other is really your ideal partner, but it does not matter if you have children before or after.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's the same in a lot of countries these days.